price increases, quantity demanded will fall. We know that inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. But what we don't know is the quantum of the quantity change as a result of the price change. So we'll use the concept of elasticity to establish that kind of relationship between the price change and the quantity change. So what we'll be doing is to, first of all, know how to calculate elasticity and then know how to interpret the results from your calculation. So we'll do 3 different cases for demand side elasticity. We'll have to demand elasticity and then supply elasticity. We'll have 2 different cases of elasticity. We'll learn how to measure them and how to use them and then how to interpret them. So let's start off with the demand elasticity. So for the demand function, we know that quantity demanded is affected by the price of the good, the income, price of related goods, say Y. So if we are dealing with good X and other determinants, what we'll be doing with the elasticity is to look at the 3 important variables and identify their impact on changes in quantity demanded of X. So that what will happen to quantity demanded of X if the price of X changes? What will happen to the quantity of X if the consumer's income changes? And then what will happen to the quantity demanded of X if the related good also has a price change? So let's start off with price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand. And here we are taking the variable price and we are looking at its effect on quantity demanded. So basically, price elasticity of demand is a degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded to changes in price. So it's degree of quantity demanded response over the change in price. Or basically what we say is that it is the percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in the price of the good. Okay, so now you have this as our price elasticity of demand. We can further break this down to get a very simple way to calculate our price elasticity of demand. So we can just find the percentage change in the quantity demanded and then find the percentage change in the price. So for percentage change in quantity demanded, we'll have change in Q over Q times 100. And then the percentage change in price will be the change in price divided by price times 100. When you do your inverse and everything, you would end up having change in Q divided by change in P times your price over quantity. So you can use this formula to get your price elasticity of demand. So let's take an example and see how we can get our price elasticity of demand. So you have your demand curve. This is your demand curve, your price and your quantity. Let's assume you start off at a price level of 2 Cs with quantity of 10, and then price increases to 2 Cs 20 pesos. Quantity demanded decreases from 10 to 8. Now this gives us the inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. We can use this information to calculate our price elasticity of demand. So going by the formula that we have, let's find the percentage change in quantity, which is, so this will be our Q0, old quantity. This is our new quantity. This should be an old price, and this is our new price. So percentage change in quantity can be new quantity minus the old quantity divided by the old quantity times 100%. This will give us 8 minus 10 divided by 10 times 100, and it will give us 20%. So we'll have our change in percentage change in quantity to be 20%. Now we can also calculate our percentage change in price, which will still follow the same procedure. Percentage change in price, which will be the P1 minus P0 divided by P0 times 100, and this will give us 2.2 minus 2 divided by 2 times 100. When you do the calculation, you get 10%. So that our percentage change in price will be 10%. So having gotten your percentage changes, we can then calculate our price elasticity of demand, which will be price elasticity of demand will be percentage change in quantity over percentage change in price, which will give us 20% divided by 10%, which will give us 2. We know this is negative because the change in the quantity side is negative, and then the change in the price side is positive. But with price elasticity of demand, normally what we do is to take the absolute figure and then take away the negative sign, because the negative sign is implied in the relationship between the price and quantity demanded. So we'll just say that our price elasticity of demand is 2. What does this mean? This means that when you increase price by 1 unit, quantity demanded will fall by 2 units. In other words, you can also say that a percentage increase in price will lead to a 2% decrease in quantity. So now we can actually determine the exact change or the exact impact of the price increase on quantity demanded. What we've done here is to use a point formula to calculate our elasticity, so that here we are moving from point B to point A. However, the problem with this calculation is that you may not get the same result when you move from point A to point B. So let's try and see what will happen with that and give ourselves a better formula to calculate our price elasticity of demand. So let's say now we are moving from point A to point B, and in this case there is a reduction in price and an increase in quantity, so that now our Q initial is 8 and then our new quantity is 10, whilst our old price is 2.2 and then our new price is 2. Following the same procedure, we can get our percentage change in quantity to be 25%, and then our percentage change in price to be 9.09%. When you do the calculation, you should get your price elasticity of demand to be 2.75 as your new price elasticity. This is different from the previous one where we had 2 as our price elasticity of demand. However, the movement is not really different except that they are in opposite direction. So we see that there is some challenge with using the point elasticity formula. So a better way to calculate price elasticity of demand is to use what we call the midpoint formula. Midpoint formula of price elasticity of demand. And basically what we do with the midpoint formula is to, instead of taking the initial 0 to divide, we'll just find the average of the prices to do our division sign, so that then we'll have price elasticity of demand to now be percentage change in quantity over percentage change in price. But the percentage change in quantity is now Q1 minus Q0 over Q1 plus Q0 divided by 2 times 100. And then the new percentage change in price will be now P1 minus P0 divided by P1 plus P0 all divided by 2 times 100. So that now you see that the denominator is no longer the initial price and then the initial quantity, but it is now the average of the prices and then the average of the quantities. So let's use this midpoint formula to calculate our price elasticity of demand. So still with the given figures now, because we are using the midpoint formula, it doesn't really matter whether it's a movement from A to B or B to point A. You will still get the same result for your price elasticity of demand. So let's take this as our movement. Price has decreased from 2 cedis, 20 pesos to 2 cedis, whilst quantity has increased from 8 units to 10 units. Let's do our percentage change in quantity, and this will give us 2, which is our change in quantity, 8 plus 10 divided by 2 times 100. So this would give us 2 over 9 times 100. And this will give us 22%. So that now our new percentage change in quantity is 22%. Let's do for the quantity price and then calculate our elasticity. So percentage change in price is now, the difference is 0.2 divided by 2.2 plus 2 all divided by 2 times 100%, which would give us 0.2 divided by, this will give us 4.2, which is 2.1 times 100. And then our calculation will give us 9.5%. So our change in price now is 9.5%. So based on these two results, we can then calculate our price elasticity of demand using the midpoint formula. So that now our price elasticity of demand is 22% divided by 9.5%, which gives us a result of 2.32. So this tells us that a 1% decrease in price will lead to a 2.32% increase in quantity. So whether you move from point A to B or from point B to A, you will still get this result because of the midpoint elasticity of demand formula that we used. Okay. So for price elasticity of demand, we have different cases. We have different cases under the price elasticity of demand. You can have perfectly elastic, relatively elastic case. We can have unit elastic. You can have relatively inelastic, and then the final one is perfectly inelastic case. All of these cases are different based on the results you get for their price elasticity of demand. So let's take them one after the other and examine them. So let's take the first one, perfectly elastic demand or perfectly elastic case. Here we are saying that the consumers are highly sensitive to price changes, and in this case you have a horizontal demand curve, so that you have price at say 4, and then quantity may be increasing or decreasing. What this means is that because consumers are highly responsive to price changes, a slight increase in the price will lead to no one buying any of the good, and then a slight decrease in price will lead to an infinite number of consumers buying the good or the service. So that in this case, then you have your price elasticity of demand to be infinity. Consumers are extremely sensitive to price changes. So that's for perfectly elastic case. The second case is where demand curve is elastic. And here we are saying that yes, consumers will be responsive, but their degree of responsiveness will not be that perfectly elastic case. They may reduce or increase their consumption, but it will not be to the infinity extent. So that we will have a demand curve which is relatively flat, so that when price changes by a small unit, quantity demanded also changes by a bigger unit than the price change. So that we have a small price unit change, but it leads to a greater quantity change. So for this case, our calculation will give us a price elasticity of demand which is greater than 1. This basically means that a unit increase in price will lead to a more than 1 unit decrease in quantity. So let's say we put figures here, so that say the price now increases from 4 to 5, and we have quantity decreasing from 100 to 50. And we say this percentage change is 22%, and this one is 67%. That is if you use the midpoint formula to do your calculation. So what we are saying here is that price increased by 22%, but quantity demanded decreased by a larger margin, which is 67%. So that then our price elasticity of demand, if you do the calculation, will give you a figure or a unit that is greater than 1. Okay. And then our third scenario is where we have unit elastic demand. And for this case, we are saying that there is a 1-to-1 response between price and quantity demanded. So that if price increases by 20%, we should expect that quantity will decrease also by 20%. So that the change in price will exactly be the same magnitude change in quantity. So when price increases from 4 to 5, which is a 22% change, we expect that same 22% change in quantity, which means that then quantity will have to decrease from 100 to 80. And in this case, we'll have our price elasticity of demand to be equal to 1. Okay. So that's our third case, unit elasticity. Our fourth case is when the elasticity of demand is inelastic or relatively inelastic. Here we say consumers are not so much responsive to price changes, so that when price increases, consumers' reduction in quantity will be less than the price increase. So we have a case where price increases from 4 to 5, but quantity only decreases from 100 to say 90. This is a 22% increase, whilst this would give us about 11% decrease. So we see that consumers will not so much respond to that price increase. So we say the consumers are not responsive to price increases or price changes. In the end, when you calculate your price elasticity of demand, you should get a figure which is less than 1. Okay. So price increase will be greater than the quantity decrease. So in this case, we can say that a unit increase or a unit change in price will lead to a less than 1 unit change in quantity demanded. Then our final case is where consumers do not respond at all to changes in price, and that will be the perfectly inelastic case where we have a vertical demand curve, so that whether price increases or price decreases, the quantity demanded will remain unchanged. Okay, so we say consumers do not respond to price changes, and in this case, we'll have our price elasticity of demand to be equal to 0. So those are the 5 cases for price elasticity of demand. So if you have a calculation and you end up with a figure which is price elasticity of demand, which is equal to 0.5, then we can say that we are dealing with a demand curve which is inelastic. And with this, you can draw your demand curve to have a very steep slope. But if you calculate and you have a value for your elasticity which is 1.6, then you know you are dealing with an elastic demand curve, so that your demand curve will be different from this case. So you have a very flat demand curve. Okay. So that is it for price elasticity of demand. So we're done with the price side of the chain of the factors that affect demand. Cost price. Let's now take the second variable, which is the income, and then see how that will also affect the quantity demanded of this good. So now here what we are doing is to look at the effect or the impact of income on quantity demanded. And this is what we call income elasticity of demand. And here it is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded to changes in the income of the consumer. And the mathematical way of looking at it is the percentage change in quantity divided by the percentage change in the income of the consumer. We can further do manipulation so that we have change in quantity over quantity times 100 divided by change in income over income times 100, so that you eventually end up at getting your income elasticity to be change in quantity over change in your income times income over quantity. And here a word of caution is that for the elasticity of income, you don't use the absolute values or the absolute figures, but you take it as it is given. The negative or the positive sign is very relevant in understanding the relation or the nature of the good you are dealing with. So here we look at the signs to show us whether to show us the nature of the good that we are dealing. So for the income elasticity of demand, if you calculate and you get elasticity to be, say, negative 0.4, this will give you a different interpretation as when you calculate and you get income elasticity of, say, 1.4. For income elasticity of demand, what we are looking out for is the nature of the good or the service. That is, are the goods inferior goods or they are normal goods? If the elasticity you get gives you a negative, then you are dealing with inferior goods. But when you get a positive sign for your elasticity, then you are dealing with normal goods. Even under the normal goods, we can have luxury and then necessity. For the luxury good, your elasticity will have to be greater than 1. But for the necessity, it has to be between 0 and 1. Okay, and it has to be positive. So when you get 1.4, it is a normal good, but it is a luxury. But if you calculate and you get, say, 0.8, then this is a normal good, but it is also a necessity because it is between 0 and 1. So for income elasticity, what we are looking out for is the nature of the good, whether it's an inferior good or a normal good. Let's take the last part, which is the cross price elasticity of demand. And here we are dealing with two different goods. We have good X and then good Y. And what we want to know is that how the price of good Y impacts on the quantity demanded of X. So for the cross price elasticity, what we are interested in is identifying the relationship that exists between the two goods. And like we did for income elasticity, the definition for the cross price elasticity is how the price of good Y will affect the quantity of good X. Or we can say it is the degree of responsiveness of good X to changes in the price of Y. So that then it will be a percentage change in the quantity of X divided by percentage change in the price of Y. Now here also the negative sign is very important in determining the relationship between the two goods. If we calculate our elasticity and we end up with a negative sign, then we are saying that it is negative. Then we are saying the two goods are complements. But if we calculate our elasticity between the two goods and we get a positive value, then we say the two goods are substitutes. However, if we calculate and we get an elasticity of 0, then we say the two goods are independent or they are unrelated. And so for cross price elasticity, all we are concerned about is getting whether the nature or the relationship between the two goods, whether they are substitutes or they are complements, or whether they are not related at all. So what we've done so far is to identify the three different elasticities under the demand side. We've dealt with the price elasticity of demand, we've done the income elasticity of demand, and we've also done cross price elasticity of demand. Let's take the supply side and do elasticity of supply. And here we'll only be taking the price elasticity of supply. So in effect, we are looking at how the price will affect quantity supply. And we also know that there is a positive relationship between price and quantity supply, so that then we'll have a supply curve sloping positively. Following from the demand side, we can also define our price elasticity of supply as the responsiveness of quantity supplied to changes in the price levels. And mathematically, we can have percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in the price of the good. When we do our calculation, we should end up with change in quantity supplied over change in price times price over quantity supplied. Okay. So under elasticity of supply, we will still have the different cases that we had for elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand. And the elasticity of supply, we can have perfectly elastic supply, and in this case we have the supply curve having a horizontal slope, which means that when you increase the price a little, suppliers will flood the market with so much of the good or the service. And then when you decrease the price by a little, none of the products will be supplied. And in this case, you have your price elasticity of supply to be infinity. You can also have the elastic supply case, where now you have a kind of flat supply curve, which means that a unit increase in price will lead to a more than one unit increase in quantity supplied. And in this case, you have your price elasticity of supply to be greater than 1. You can also have a third situation where you have unit elastic supply, where the elasticity of supply is equal to 1. And here we are saying it's a 1-to-1 change. When price increases by 10%, we expect quantity supplied to also increase by 10%. And in this case, the supply curve will always start from the point of origin. Okay, so that's for unit elastic supply. You also have the inelastic supply, and here we have a relatively steep supply curve, which means that suppliers may not be so much responsive to price changes, so that a unit change in price will lead to a less than 1 unit change in quantity. And if price increases by, say, 20%, we should expect that quantity supplied will only increase by, say, 15%. And in this case, our price elasticity of supply will be less than 1. Then our final case is where we have a vertical supply curve, which is perfectly inelastic supply. Here we have vertically sloping supply curve. And we say that when price increases or price decreases, the quantity supplied will remain the same, so that the elasticity of supply will be equal to 0. And here also we take the absolute value, and because price elasticity of supply has a positive relationship implied in it, you may not really need to take away the negative sign, because you will always get a positive sign. So on the scale for either the price elasticity of demand or price elasticity of supply, we'll have our point 0. We have this point to be our unit elastic. We have this point moving from when it is greater than 1 to be a relatively elastic case until it gets to infinity. We have that infinity. And then to the left side you have inelastic case. And then when it moves to 0, then we have perfectly inelastic case. So on the scale we can have the different cases for elasticity of the price elasticity of demand on the scale. 0 is perfectly inelastic, between 0 and 1 inelastic, 1 is unit elastic, greater than 1 is elastic, and when it gets to infinity you have perfectly elastic demand. So that's it for